Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Red Dragon Archfiend Yugioh deck profile for post Ghost from the Past, the Second Haunting. With the release of Ghost from the Past, the Second Haunting, we actually didn't get any new support for the Red Dragon Archfiend deck, but we did get a reprint for, I would say, a very needed card in the Red Dragon Archfiend deck, and that is Wandering King Wildwind. It was a card that just helped with the overall Fiend support with the different Resonator monsters, and I did change up a few things since the last Red Dragon Archfiend deck, so I figured an update was definitely due for the deck profile. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters for the Resonator support, which make up a part of the Red Dragon Archfiend deck. We are running 3 of the Crimson Resonator. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If the only other monster you control is exactly 1 Dark Dragon Synchro monster, you can special summon up to 2 Resonator monsters from your hand or deck, except for Crimson Resonator. You go and use each effect of Crimson Resonator once per turn, and you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except for Dark Dragon Synchro monsters. The turn you activate either of these cards' effects. So it's a special summon setup card to then go into your bigger Red Dragon Archfiend monsters, whether you want to summon out your Red Supernova Dragon or your Red Nova Dragon. You have all these options available to you thanks to your Crimson Resonator, and just having the 1 Dark Dragon Synchro monster can be accomplished in getting out Crimson Resonator when you have your Red Rising Dragon on the field, which we'll get to at the end of the video. For the additional 3 ofs that I run for the Resonator monsters, I also run 3 Red Resonator. This card is used initially to set up your Red Rising Dragon. When it's normal summon, you can special summon 1 level 4 lower monster from your hand. When this card is special summon, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field and gain life points equal to its attack. You can only use this effect of Red Resonator once per turn. So this card definitely will help with that setup with Resonator's command, being able to discard Red Resonator to search out that Fiend monster you need, which could be either of the Fiend monsters used for the setup, but a big part of it will be your Red Sprinter, being able to summon out this card on the field to get Red Resonator back onto the field to then gain life points using it. For some of the lower numbers for the Resonator monsters, I also run 2 Chain Resonator. With this card, when it's normal summon while a Synchro monster is on the field, you can special summon 1 Resonator monster from your deck except for Chain Resonator. So usually I use Chain Resonator to summon out Creation Resonator, because then when I have the level 8 Red Dragon Archfiend monster on the field, I can use those 2 monsters to then go into my special summon of Red Nova Dragon, since it needs 2 Tuner monsters and 1 Red Dragon Archfiend on the field. And I also run 2 Synchron Resonator. If a Synchro monster is on your field, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Synchron Resonator once per turn this way. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target 1 Resonator monster in your graveyard except for Synchron Resonator and add to your hand. More recycle power for those Resonators in your graveyard to make use of. We do run plenty of Synchro monsters to summon out from the extra deck, so being able to do so with Synchron Resonator makes it all the easier. And then for the last of the Resonator monsters, just the 1 Creation Resonator. I would say this is one of the more difficult cards to get for the deck now altogether with the reprint of Wandering King Wildwind. This card is just, like I said, more of an expensive card to get, but you only really need 1 copy of it. If you control a level 8 or higher Synchro monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but most of the time I do summon it out onto the field thanks to cards like Chain Resonator. So if you don't have Creation Resonator, you can always use Dark Resonator, instead being another level 3 monster to special summon out onto the field. And for the Fiend monsters, like I said, with the release of Ghost from the Past, the Second Haunting, it's much easier to get your Wandering King Wildwinds. It was quite a pricey card for some time for the deck, but you definitely do want to run 3 of it. If you control a Fiend Tuner monster with 1500 or less attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. If summoned this way, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except for Synchro monsters. And during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard to add 1 Fiend Tuner with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. More search power with this card the following turn to continue your Red Dragon Archfiend plays. Just being able to add all your different Fiend Tuner options thanks to your Wildwind gives you more and more search power with those Resonators to add to your hand, but also be able to special summon Wildwind onto the field using its own card effect. And I also run 3 Red Sprinter. I really do like Red Sprinter with the setup with the Resonator command, like I said before, being able to discard Red Resonator and then just summon it back onto the field with Red Sprinter and gain life points since you special summon Red Resonator and didn't normal summon it to special summon out Red Sprinter onto the field. And with that play, you have your summon for your Red Rising Dragon, which will then lead into your Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend play. For more search power, I also run 3 Witch of the Black Forest. More search power if it's sent from the field to the graveyard. You add 1 monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand, but you cannot activate card or effects of the card with the same name for the rest of this turn. You can only use this effect of Witch of the Black Forest once per turn. So with the 1500 or less defense, you have plenty of search options for all the monsters we spoke of so far. You just can't use those cards the turn it's sent to the graveyard, but once again, Witch of the Black Forest is great for the red Resonator setup play, because that can be another level 6 play to go into, searching and summoning out your red Rising Dragon while giving you the additional search for your Witch of the Black Forest. Another Fiend search would be Skullmeister. I run 3 of this card. With it, when a card or effect is activated in your opponent's graveyard, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard and negate that effect. It's my hand trap of choice in the deck, not only for the fact that there's a lot of effects that resolve in the graveyard, but also this card is searchable thanks to your Resonator command. So if you already have the red Sprinter in your hand, you can use Resonator command to discard a Resonator monster to add 1 level 4 lower Fiend monster, which includes Skullmeister to your hand, just setting up that search for a potential hand trap to use against your opponent if you already have the play needed to summon out your Red Dragon Archfiend monster. And for some of the lower numbers in the deck, I also run 2 Perform Mage Hat Tricker, another easy special summon of a level 4 monster, just of 2 or more monsters on the field. And it gives you that level 4 option along with all the other Fiend type monsters we run in the deck. And also 1 red Warg. When you normal summon a Resonator monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but its attack becomes half. Just a quicker way to go into Red Dragon Archfiend. It's a good way to avoid Nibiru as well. If you know your opponent has it, you can summon out your red Resonator, summon out your red Warg, and then just go for the level 8 synchro play into your Red Dragon Archfiend, avoiding the 5 monster summon because of it on the field also. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 Resonator Call. You add 1 Resonator monster from your deck to your hand. It's not a once per turn, so if you open up multiple Resonator Calls, you can get more and more searches, adding the 2 potential tuners needed for Red Nova Dragon to your hand, or even more of the setup for your Resonator monsters for summoning out your Red Supernova Dragon. Since you do need 3 tuners to summon out that synchro, you can search out Crimson Resonator, one of the more important cards if you already use the search, or even for your initial search play, search out the Red Resonator that you can then discard for your next card, which is Resonator Command. We are also running 3 copies of this quick play spell. You discard 1 Resonator monster to add 1 level 4 lower Fiend monster from your deck to your hand. You can only activate 1 Resonator Command per turn. So let's say you do search out the Resonator monster with Witch of the Black Forest, and you can't use that card this turn. You can still use it as the discard cost for Resonator Command, searching out another Fiend type monster because of that discard you used with the Resonator you searched off of Witch of the Black Forest, utilizing that monster and then giving you other ways to add it back to your hand later on. For some of the lower numbers for these spells, I also run 2 Burning Soul. This is one of the new spell cards that really does help in the deck. If you control a level 8 or higher synchro monster, add 1 card from your graveyard to your hand, except for Burning Soul. Then immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon using monsters you control as material. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, your opponent cannot target synchro monsters on the field with card effects. You can activate 1 Burning Soul per turn. So this quick play spell gives you the option to synchro summon during your opponent's turn, but also being able to add back 1 card from your graveyard to your hand, except for Burning Soul, and then go for that synchro play, utilizing the Resonators you may have special summon onto the field with other cards like your Crimson Resonator, going into your bigger Red Dragon Archfiend monster for the level 8 or higher synchro that's already on the field, being the Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, and then the other tuners also. And then for some of the lower numbers for these spells, I also run 1 Monster Reborn and 1 Call by the Grave, more shutting down your opponent's plays, but also being able to special summon back your own cards using the Monster Reborn. And for the traps, I run 1 Red Rain. If you control a level 8 or higher synchro monster, banish all monsters on the field except for the monster with the highest level. Also, the remaining face-up monsters on the field are unaffected by other card effects except their own until the end of this turn. And if a Dark Dragon synchro monster is synchro summoned to your field while this card's in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand, and you can only use this effect of Red Rain once per turn. A good way to clear the field while making use of your Red Dragon Archfiend on the field, and then being able just to swing into your opponent's other monster, and also have your Red Dragon Archfiend monster be unaffected by other card effects. Makes it a true powerhouse to be feared, because then you'll have all of the other cards on the field as its source of power with all the other different tuners you'll have in your graveyard also. And then lastly, for the rest of the traps, just 3 Infinite Impermanence, just the hand trap of choice. If you do go second with this deck, you can at least try to shut down any of your opponent's plays using this card and their 1 go-to summon on the field, depending on what it might be. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. For our Red Dragon Archfiend spot, I am running 3 Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. You really don't need to run the original Red Dragon Archfiend in the deck. It's not as needed, and I would say Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend is much better. Its name becomes Red Dragon Archfiend while it's on the field or in the graveyard. Once per turn, you can destroy as many special summon and effect monsters on the field as possible with attack less than or equal to this card, other than this card. Then inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. Like I said, a much better way to destroy your opponent's monsters, getting this card out on the field, and then also counting it as Red Dragon Archfiend means we can summon out some of our other monsters that we run in the deck as well, including our Red Nova Dragon, one of my favorite monsters in the deck as a whole. For more special summon plays, I also run 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, another destruction play during the main phase to destroy all or face-up attack position monsters on the field. So this can get around normal summon monsters. That's why I like to run the 1 copy of this card of the deck, aside from Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, since it cannot stop, normal summon monsters, so there could be some pesky ones of those on the field. And for more of the actual setup you use for the Red Dragon Archfiend, I run 3 Red Rising Dragon. When this card is synchro summoned, you can target 1 Resonator monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You cannot special summon from the extra deck the turn you activate this, except for Dark Dragon synchro monsters. And during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard to target 2 level 1 Resonator monsters in your graveyard, special summon both. Giving you those special summons can be used for cards like Chain Resonator and Synchron Resonator to summon onto the field to then use for other synchro plays. I also run 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, another monster effect negation. Using this card, you just need 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuner Dark Dragon type synchro monsters. So with Red Dragon Archfiend and one of the level 1 Resonators, you can make this card quite easily. Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane for more of the initial setup for your Red Nova, giving you the 2 tuners on the field with it. The 1 Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend, needing 2 tuners and 1 or more non-tuners. And the Red Supernova Dragon for the boss monster level 12, needing 3 tuners. So if you don't have the level 3 play, you can at least use the 1 level 2 and then the 2 level 1s, and then your synchro monster to summon out this card. Having 4,000 attack, definitely a powerhouse altogether, and gaining 500 attack for each tuner in your graveyard. Same as Red Nova Dragon. Red Nova Dragon just needs 2 tuners to make it. So you have the Chain Resonator and then the Creation Resonator to summon this card out along with Red Dragon Archfiend. And then another boss monster is Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Calamity, needing 2 tuners and 1 or more non-tuner Dark Dragon synchro type monsters. So you don't necessarily need Red Dragon Archfiend to make this card. It could be any of the level 8 synchros, including the Beelzeus and also the Void Ogre Dragon that I run the deck as additional options for the Dark Synchro Dragon that you can summon onto the field to use against your opponents. As for some of the go-to plays in the deck, once again, relying on just your 2 monsters, whether it be your 1 Fiend type monsters, who can either be your Red Sprinter or your Wandering King Wildwind, along with the Red Resonator. You can then go for the summon, summoning out your Red Resonator to special summon your monster out onto the field. And with that play, you have your level 6 synchro play, which you will then go into your Red Rising Dragon, activating Red Rising Dragon to summon out your Red Resonator from there. And then you have your level 8 synchro play to summon out your go-to monster, which is your Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. And then for the play, being able to then have the setup, if you have the Crimson Resonator, or if you don't, you can always search it out with one of the searchers in the deck to use for it. Searching out your Crimson Resonator and having it in your hand. With this card, if you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If you only other monster you control is exactly 1 Dark Dragon Synchro monster, you can special summon up to 2 Resonator monsters from your hand or deck, except for Crimson Resonator. So with this card, you have the special summon option for your Crimson Resonator, initially with this card, controlling no monsters, to special summon out, and then going for the play, or even just the following turn, if you summon out your Crimson Resonator, and then if you control the Dark Dragon Synchro monster, you can special summon 2 Resonator monsters from your hand or deck. The 2 you'll summon out will be the ones of choice that you want to summon out. You can go for the Synchron Resonator and the Chain Resonator. With that, you have the level 8 monster on the field being the Red Dragon Archfiend, the Crimson Resonator, and then the additional 2 tuners, using all 4 of them to summon out your big go-to boss monster, the Red Supernova Dragon. If you don't go for that play, you can even go for more of the setup with your Synchron Resonator command, discarding the Resonator monster being the Red Resonator, and then being able to add the Fiend type monster of choice to your hand with that play, or even being able to go for the additional setup for that summon and gaining the life points from Red Resonator, and then the same synchro play from there with your Red Rising Dragon, summoning out that monster back onto the field again. But once again, remember, your big play with Crimson Resonator would be if this card is summoned out on the field, and with this card special summon with your Red Rising Dragon onto the field. With this card not negating the effect of that monster, you're able to then special summon the 2 Resonator monsters before you go into your level 8 synchro play using your Crimson Resonator. So then you will use this card to summon out your Creation Resonator, and then also the Chain Resonator, going for the level 8 synchro of your Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, and then using those two along with your Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend to summon out your Red Nova Dragon onto the field instead of the Red Supernova Dragon. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. I always love updating Red Dragon Archfiends. It's one of my favorite 5Ds decks, and it wasn't originally my favorite. I just grew to like it after all the different playstyles that I've seen that you can use with this deck, and I definitely do like the updated version that I've done with all the new, easier to get support. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.